There's a 200-year-old Russian census that fundamentally challenges what we've been told about one of the world's most intractable ethnic conflicts. When historians finally gained access to this forgotten document after the Soviet Union fell, it revealed something extraordinary. 100,000 people just fled their ancestral homeland in 2023 because both Armenia and Azerbaijan had been weaponizing the same historical myths for generations. And here's why this matters to you. This exact playbook, manipulating history to justify ethnic cleansing, is being deployed in conflicts worldwide right now. Once you understand how it works, you'll recognize it everywhere. In fact, it is so powerful that even after all the death and destruction, both countries are still struggling to sign a binding peace agreement. Armenia returned 4 strategic villages to Azerbaijan in May 2024, and by August 2025, both leaders were at the White House promising to jointly nominate Donald Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize, but they still only initialized a memorandum, not a final treaty. Let me show you how fabricated history became deadly reality, and why even now, after 100,000 people lost their homes, the mythology is so powerful that lasting peace remains elusive. For 3 decades, Armenia and Azerbaijan had told the international community fundamentally incompatible stories about the same territory. The Armenian narrative goes something like this. Nagorno-Karabakh has always been Armenian land for millennia. Stalin gave it to Azerbaijan in 1921 as part of divide and rule. The 1988 movement was peaceful self-determination that was met with pogroms. The Azerbaijani narrative says Karabakh has always been Azerbaijani territory, Armenians are recent colonizers brought by Russia. The conflict is about territorial aggression, not self-determination. Here's what's fascinating. Both sides invoke ancient history, both claim to be indigenous, and both present themselves as victims. So, who's telling the truth? The answer is more complex and more disturbing than either side wants you to know. In the 1990s, something remarkable happened. The Soviet archives opened and scholars could finally access primary documents that had been sealed away for 70 years. UCLA historian George Bornutian made a discovery that would shake the foundations of Azerbaijani's historical narrative. Working in Moscow's Central Library, he found the complete 1823 Russian imperial census of Karabakh province. Why does this 1823 matter? Because it is 5 years before the Treaty of Turkmenichay, when Russia gained eastern Armenia from Persia. Azerbaijan has always claimed that Armenians only came to Karabakh after 1828, brought by Russian colonizers. But this census, conducted village by village, family by family, tells a different story. The data is unambiguous. In the highland districts that would become Nagorno-Karabakh, the population was 95% Armenian. These weren't recent arrivals. Church records, cemetery inscriptions, and tax documents from the 1720s all corroborate multi-generational Armenian presence. Now, Azerbaijani historians raise a legitimate methodological question. The census was conducted in winter, potentially missing nomadic Turkic populations who used summer pastures. But here's the crucial point. Even accounting for seasonal migration, the demographic evidence is overwhelming. The Armenian majority in Highland Karabakh predates any Russian involvement. So why does Azerbaijan insist Armenians were brought by Russia? Because admitting indigenous Armenian presence undermines their entire legal argument for sovereignty. If Armenians were always there, the self-determination claim gains legitimacy. Conversely, why do Armenians sometimes overstate their historical presence in all of Karabakh, not just the highlands? Because maximalist historical claims justify holding territories beyond Nagorno-Karabakh proper, territories from which 700,000 Azerbaijanis were expelled. To understand how historical truth gets systematically buried, meet Zia Bunyadov, Soviet war hero, vice chairman of Azerbaijan's Academy of Sciences, and perhaps the most influential historical forger of the 20th century. Bunyadov faced a complex problem in the 1960s. How do you build a Muslim national identity while claiming Christian monuments that obviously predate Islam's arrival? His solution was audacious. Those Armenian churches? They were not Armenian. They were built by Caucasian Albanians, an extinct Christian people that modern Azerbaijanis supposedly descended from. When international scholars gained access to archives after 1991, they discovered something shocking. British scholar Thomas de Waal documents in Black Garden that Bunyadov's seminal 1960 and 1965 articles were direct plagiarisms of works by C.F.J. Dowsett from London's School of Oriental and African Studies and Robert Hewson from Rowan College. But plagiarism was just the beginning. Russian ethnologist Viktor Schnirelman found that Bunyadov had systematically altered medieval texts, literally using find and replace to change Armenian to Albanian throughout historical documents. This wasn't fringe pseudo-history, this was state-sanctioned academic fraud, taught in schools for 60 years. Azerbaijan's Institute of Oriental Studies is still named after Bunyadov today, despite documented plagiarism that would end any academic's career. Why would Azerbaijan embrace such obvious falsification? Because in territorial disputes, historical precedence matters. If Armenians were always there, if those churches were always Armenian, then Azerbaijan's claim weakens. Creating Caucasian Albanian heritage provided an indigenous Christian past that predated Armenian presence. Not all historical distortion is deliberate fraud. Sometimes well-meaning attempts at neutrality create their own distortions. Thomas de Waal's Black Garden became the definitive Western account of the conflict. Based on over 120 interviews from all sides, it aimed to rise above nationalist propaganda. De Waal's influential conclusion was that much of the Karabakh conflict was all in the mind, constructed on national stories that were often demonstrably false. This sounds balanced, but German researcher Christian Kolter identified a crucial omission. De Waal never mentions the 1823 census, the single most important demographic document predating Russian resettlement. This illustrates a common problem in conflict reporting: the false balance fallacy. When one side has stronger evidence, but both sides are given equal weight, the result isn't neutrality. It's distortion. Here's what makes this conflict especially heartbreaking. Ordinary Armenians and Azerbaijanis actually did live as neighbors and friends. This isn't mythology. It's documented fact. In Shusha, before it was burned to the ground, there was widespread intermarriage between communities. Zaur, an Azerbaijani policeman, had two close Armenian friends, Vigen and Surik. They grew up together, played volleyball and soccer, helped each other on the black market. When Zaur went to the army, one of them paid for his haircut as a good luck gesture. During the war, Zaur had nightmares about seeing them through his gun sights. The Jafarov family, who lost their son in 1992, told researchers the same thing. We lived normally with the Armenians. They believed the destructive hatred came from outside, not from within their community. Even today, in the Georgian village of Khojorny, Armenians and Azerbaijanis still live together peacefully. At Armenian weddings, they sing Azerbaijani songs. At Azerbaijani weddings, they sing Armenian songs. As one villager put it, they quarreled over land. We have no problems over land. So what destroyed these genuine friendships? Government manipulation on both sides. In July 2002, former Azerbaijan president Haydar Aliyev admitted to deliberately encouraging Azerbaijani settlement in Nagorno-Karabakh during the 1970s to alter demographics. Meanwhile, despite Azerbaijanis compromising 23% of Karabakh's population, Armenians monopolized all administrative positions. Armenian schools were forbidden from teaching Armenian history. Azerbaijani villages received less infrastructure. Both Soviet and post-Soviet governments turned demographic competition into policy. They transformed neighbors into statistics, friends into threats. As one researcher observed, there is no innate hostility between Armenians and Azerbaijanis. In neutral Georgia, all supposed ethnic hatreds die away. The real tragedy isn't that people are lying about past harmony. It's that the harmony was real and political elites destroyed it. Ordinary people paid the price for demographic games they never asked to play. The children who grew up in the 1970s learning these incompatible histories became the soldiers of the 1990s. The verified numbers are staggering. The first war from 1988 to 1984 killed between 25,000 and 30,000 people. That's roughly the equivalent to wiping out a small city. 700,000 Azerbaijanis were forced from their homes in Armenia and the occupied territories. Imagine the entire population of Boston suddenly homeless. Meanwhile, between 350,000 and 500,000 Armenians fled Azerbaijan, according to the Council of Europe. Entire communities that had existed for centuries vanished overnight. The 2020 war compressed similar devastation into just 44 days. Over 7,000 soldiers dead, mostly young men born after the First War ended. These weren't just numbers, they were teenagers and young adults killing each other over competing versions of history their professors knew contained fabrications. Both sides systematically destroyed the other's heritage. Armenian churches destroyed, Azerbaijani mosques vandalized, each trying to erase physical evidence that contradicted their narrative. Then September 2023 delivered the final act. In a single week, UN monitors counted 100,000 Armenians abandoning everything they owned. Not because they were colonizers as Azerbaijan claimed, not because they faced genocide as Armenia claimed, but because fabricated history had made coexistence impossible. What happened in Karabakh isn't unique, it's a template being used worldwide. The formula is consistent. First, simplify complex history into binary narratives. Second, claim pure indigenous status while denying the others. Then find academics to legitimize your version. Teach it as fact to children, and then use it to justify contemporary policies. In Myanmar, the claim that Buddhism is under existential threat from Muslim invaders justifies violence against the Rohingya, who lived there for generations. It's never about what actually happened. It's about creating a simple story that justifies current political goals. So how do we immunize ourselves against historical manipulation? Real history is always messier than political mythology. If a complex conflict has a simple historical explanation, you're probably hearing propaganda. Real historical relationships are complicated, contested, and full of inconvenient facts for all sides. And thirdly, not all historical claims are equally valid. Some have evidence, some have ideology. Learn to distinguish, because here's what studying Karabakh teaches us. When politicians invoke history to justify current policies, they're usually not doing history. They're doing politics with a historical costume. In 2024, Armenia formally recognized Nagorno-Karabakh as Azerbaijani territory and began returning disputed border areas. In May 2024, Armenia handed over 4 strategic villages to Azerbaijan, abandoned settlements that had been under Armenian control since the 1990s. By August 2025, both leaders were at the White House, initialing a memorandum of understanding. They promised to jointly nominate Donald Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize, praising his role in bringing them closer to peace. But tellingly, they only initialized the document. They didn't sign a binding treaty. Think about this trajectory. After all the mythology, all the death and all the destruction, realpolitik is slowly winning. The fabricated history that justified 3 wars and massive ethnic cleansing didn't change the final outcome. It just added zeros to the body count while prolonging the suffering. The next time you see historical claims used to justify ethnic conflict, and you will, remember Karabakh. Remember how fabricated history became real graveyards. You now have tools most people lack. You can recognize when complexity is being weaponized into simplicity, when ancient grievances are being manufactured, when historical rights are masking contemporary ambitions. Because understanding how selective history destroys communities isn't just academic knowledge. It's immunization against the oldest form of political manipulation. The mythology changes, the pattern doesn't.